Hi, this is Sally Morgan and Tristan Corgi, and we're here for another episode of Conversations with a Corgi from the Garden, because today we are continuing our discussion of flower essences. And today's flower essence is another one from my company that I love, Botanical Animal, and this flower essence is called Panic Attack. And here's the bottle. And as I mentioned in the last two episodes, the wisdom of flowers imparts many gifts to animals and people, and have for centuries. Flowers are the essence of the flower itself. They are the life force, the chi, the prana of the plant. And it is a wonderful gift that we have flowers and that we can use that life force from the plant to give us wellness and health, and to be used in ceremonies as they have for centuries. Panic attack is specifically for help to alleviate hysterical behavior and extreme terror arising out of feelings of abandonment, eases feelings of isolation when left behind or left home alone, subdues the sense of panic that may drive a dog or a cat to self-induced bodily harm. So panic attack sounds like a perfect flower essence to use for many, many rescued dogs, or dogs that were the only survivor in their litter, like my dog Comet, or other dogs that have had an extreme trauma in their early life, or even in their later lives, like a senior dog who lost his person, who passed over the Rainbow Bridge before him. So panic attack may be a good one to use for that. So it's feelings of abandonment, hysterical behavior, and extreme terror. So what is in this magic remedy for panic attack for a flower essence? One of the most important ingredients in it is arnica. And arnica is one of my favorite flower essences and remedies homeopathically that I use for everything that's wrong with me. Arnica has been the thing that has been the single most important factor in alleviating my headaches and some of the muscular injuries I have sustained in my life as a horse trainer. Arnica is an anti-inflammatory. It's got analgesic properties, which is what we use aspirin for. It is good for sprains and strains and bruises, and it's also great for insect bites or rashes. Again, we're looking at panic as being a state of inflammation, a state of hot arousal throughout the nervous system and the body itself. And arnica has that anti-inflammatory property that is a great essence to use in that situation. And it's also used for an antimicrobial, which is an important aspect of arnica, and why it's been used for, you're not supposed to use it topically, but if you have a scrape, for instance, that's not deep, and after the sore has healed over with a scab, which may be only just a few minutes, an hour, arnica is a great thing to use because it is an antimicrobial and an antibacterial. Arnica was called mountain tobacco, as are several of our flower essences origins, by Native Americans, and it was also called the leopard's bane. It has orange blossoms and it grows in the mountainous regions of Europe. And arnica is very, very powerful. It's one of the primary ingredients in Tramiel, now called Tea Relief, which is a homeopathic anti-inflammatory that comes in pills, tinctures, creams. It's also a big component in the one we know so well, Rescue Remedy. So arnica is an important part of the homeopathic medicine cabinet, and certainly having arnica in something like panic attack is a wonderful, wonderful thing. Another ingredient in panic attack is long-stemmed frostweed, and it's also called a wing-stem ice plant or white crownbeard. And it gets this name because, and I've seen these, but not in the Northeast because they're not native here. They grow mostly in the U.S. Southeast. They have sort of like a little ridge that sticks up on the four sides of the stem. And when it gets frosty, those little ridges hold water from the frost, and then it expands out and makes what looks like angel wings on the sides of the plant. and they are quite breathtaking. If you'd like to see pictures of them, you can look them up. Long-stemmed frostweed. Also, this was called Indian tobacco as well, and of course, Indian tobacco would be a name for many plants depending on which region of the country you're in. You have very different plants in the west than the east, and the mountains versus the valleys, and so it's really important to remember that just because a plant has the same name in several places, it's not necessarily the same plant. So the frostweed is related to the sunflower. It has a thick stem like a sunflower, but it looks nothing like a sunflower. It has little white flowers on the top, and they're in a little bit of a cluster. And it's been known to be useful as a GI aid or a laxative. It's also been used for eye treatment and joint pain and for ceremony. And it's been an important provider for nectar, for butterflies especially. And I think this is one of the more important aspects of the frostweed for panic attack, because the butterflies are a bridge between heaven and earth, and they use the nectar from the flowers. And panic attack is useful when someone or some pet is in a great sort of soul struggle. And so that bridge between heaven and earth, provided by the butterflies that feed on this plant, can be really important. And this remedy, or this flower essence panic attack, also has cherry plum in it, which we talked about yesterday in relationship to mellow out. And cherry plum is for a fear of mental stress. And it decreases the feeling of dread and loss of control, which of course in panic attack, if you're having a panic attack, you have a feeling of dread and loss of control. So cherry plum is really important, an aspect of this flower essence. It's for obsessive fears to the point of feeling suicidal, and also for that situation when you have staring eyes, which I mentioned in T-Touch Land. We recognize that staring eye stance in a dog as freeze, which is part of fear, flight, fight, fear, freeze, or faint, which is when the sympathetic nervous system is hyper-aroused and out of balance with the parasympathetic system, which is exactly what you have when you have a panic attack. So the cherry plum will help reduce the staring eyes and the agitation that you see when you're having panic. Another ingredient, which we talked about yesterday in Mellow Out, which is also in the wonderful panic attack, is the monkey flower. And remember, that's a bright yellow flower, and it's known to promote sunshine from the inside out. So if you're feeling hopeless and panicked, then of course you want that sense of sunshine from the inside out. It decreases depression and phobias. And again, in panic situation, a phobia might really be what's going on. It decreases senses of vulnerability and oversensitivity, and of course the monkey flower is a great and wonderful mood lifter. It really is like sunshine, and therefore it's great for seasonal affective disorder, which is when you get depressed in the winter for the lack of sunshine. And we're not having a lot of sunshine here today, and monkey flowers aren't native in this area, but a monkey flower remedy essence might be a good thing for me to use today. So it brings the sunshine to your inside. And the final ingredient in panic attack, which I believe to be the most important one with the arnica that is in this flower essence, is the Mariposa lily. This grows in the mountainous regions of the Sierra Nevadas in California. And what it's known for, I'm losing my Corgi, is stabilizing the health of your soul. So this works on a very, very deep level with someone who's having problems, and it's in several remedies, but in panic attack it's really important because what it does is revive your sense of unconditional love and warmth. I heard the hummingbird again. There is a critter out there. I've seen something moving this morning. So it gives you a sense of security and warmth and unconditional love. Often the Mariposa lily is associated with pictures of Mary and Jesus, because of that incredible love and warmth that's shown in those pictures for the baby. And it's also a great essence for anger, bitterness, and resentment coming from the sense of abandonment and from not experiencing the love of your mother. So Mariposa lily is particularly associated with a mother's love, that nurturing and warmth that we get as children or as puppies and kittens. And so it's known to heal those who need mothering, who did not get adequate mothering, or who were unable to be a mother. So if you have a dog who's lost a litter, or a cat who's lost a litter, panic attack might be a good thing for her. There are several others that you might consider, and using this with them in a different order, you know, like maybe using this first at the loss of the litter and then using one of the others later on might be a good idea. But it really, anything associated with the feminine and particularly maternal love is associated with the Mariposa lily. And it's a little white flower, and it has a very deep center in it. And that deep center is representing the fact that the flower works on a very deep level, on a deep soul level. And sometimes, as you'll learn from my work with emotion code, you are carrying trapped emotions and injury from your ancestors. And so panic attack might be the flower essence you need if you have a dog who's been rescued and who came from a horrible situation. We've worked with several dogs in T-Touch classes where they were found as a puppy. No one knew where their mother was, and they were clinging to life barely. They knew their brothers and sisters, and then sometimes they grew and went on to be mothers themselves, and then they were rescued by a shelter and taken in and separated from their puppies. So a dog who's been through that kind of stress may really need this flower essence because of the Mariposa lily in it. It's for separation and alienation, and to help you be receptive to human love. Animals have an 8th chakra roughly behind their shoulder and their heart chakra that is in fact to connect them with humans. It is about their relationship to the people in the world. And so Mariposa lily in particular might be a flower essence you would want to put on that part of your dog's body to help make that connection between the dog and you. You could also use it with your horse or your kitty, especially if you've brought a new animal into the house and the other animals are sort of beating him up and having a hard time adjusting. The Mariposa lily in particular in panic attack may help them, the animal that's been threatened by the others, bond with you and find a place with you so that they can find their place in the pack or the pride in your house. It's for healing childhood wounds from abuse and trauma, and to help you find yourself. It's a great one to use when you don't feel loved. And the other thing that you could do with Mariposa lily or panic attack is put a little drop on your hand and use it to do a heart hug, a T-Touch heart hug. And I'm holding Tristan, so I'm just going to do this with one hand. But you cross your hands over your heart. Imagine a clock with a 6 here and a 12 here. And you're going to make a circle and a quarter on that clock, moving the skin with your hand. And you take a deep breath in and out. Did you notice Tristan just did that with me? And take a deep breath in and exhale. And so putting a little bit of panic attack on your hand or on your dog's chest and doing this heart hug with your dog to help them with their feelings of abandonment and acceptance of human love and understanding that they are lovable. Because our animals come to us sometimes with wounds that are so deep on a soul level that we can't begin to understand them. We just have a dog that's doing naughty things in the house and we don't know why and what's going on with them. And so my poor dog Comet, he was trapped in a crate for the first 6 months of his life and never let out. He was a very big Corgi. He couldn't turn around. He was up to his elbows in poop and pee and mashed up nasty food. And he had been taken from his mother, who did survive, but she only had 2 puppies, him and another one that was in grave medical distress. And so he got all the attention, and Comet was not really given good care, and he had a lot of issues around these ideas in the Mariposa lily. And this would have been a great flower essence for him to help him feel the love of his mother and to feel a deep connection with me and to find his place in the world and to find self-acceptance. You know, just like in children, sometimes when they're acting out, it's because they don't love themselves. It's not because they hate you. They just can't feel the love that you have for them. And that same can be true in our dogs and cats. So when you don't feel loved, you can do heart hugs with the panic attack flower essence because of the Mariposa lily and its amazing qualities. It really is an amazing, beautiful, tiny little flower. It is related to a similar lily type flower called a fairy lantern. And several of these flower essences have fairy lantern in them, and we will talk more about that later. But just the idea of the fairy lantern kind of reflects the idea in the long-stemmed frostweed of the butterflies carrying the nectar between heaven and earth. And the idea of a fairy lantern is similar because the fairies fly around the lantern and come and land on it and then fly away. And if you don't believe in fairies, that's fine. But every plant, every flower is reputed to be a home for an individual fairy, which is another reason when you're making flower essences, you need to ask permission of the flowers and also the fairies and the beings that live in those flowers to use them to make the flower essence. And you have to do it in a reverential way and in a neutral way so that your emotions and your state of being don't influence the message from the flowers that you're transmitting to the water. So Mariposa lily is a wonderful, wonderful flower to add to panic attack because it does help feel a connection to love, which may be missing if you're experiencing a state of panic and abandonment and concern. So again, panic attack is for hysterical behavior or extreme terror arising from feelings of abandonment. So if you leave the house and your dog has extreme separation anxiety, and it's not just from fear of thunder or Tristan running around the back of the car, because once I am out of his view, he settles right down. So he is not needing panic attack. The mellow out would have been a much better choice for that situation. But if your dog is just so beside himself when you leave the house that he really can't function, panic attack would be a great flower essence. And it subdues that sense of panic that can even induce bodily harm. And some dogs who have a sense of abandonment and separation anxiety may literally chew on their paws. And again, these are often rescued dogs or dogs who have been kept in really terrible situations. So if you have a rescued dog with a lot of behavior problems, many of these flower essences may be really helpful to get at the underlying emotional and soul trauma that may have contributed to your dog's behavior that you consider unacceptable. So today we talked about the flower essence from Botanical Animal Flower Essences called Panic Attack. And we looked at some of the ingredients in panic attack and why they might be helpful for an animal experiencing a sense of panic. And as I mentioned yesterday, mellow out is great for fireworks. Panic attack is not for fireworks. This is for a more ongoing, major problem that your dog is experiencing emotionally. It's not one to use in the sense of a panic attack like a person might have with a fear of crowds or something. It's more about an internal panic and an unease with yourself, really because you can't feel self-love and you can't accept the love of others. When I teach my yoga class to senior citizens at the Soldiers' Home, I often ask them at the end of class to do a heart hug and think about 3 things they love about themselves. And these guys are 80 and 90 years old, and you can see their eyes kind of glaze over as they're thinking, what do I love about myself? Because they have spent their lives giving to others, serving others, being good caretakers for their families. And the idea of finding things that you love about yourself seems really strange to them. So I encourage you today, as you're thinking about panic attack and its uses and how it might contribute to your life with your pets, to do some heart hugs and think about 3 things that you love about yourself and 3 things that your dog might love about himself as you're doing these heart hugs. I know Tristan loves that everyone calls him cute. Right, Tris? And he loves that he is a Corgi. He has not so many problems with self-esteem. What else do you love about yourself, Tris? Do you love your orange coat? I know, I love your orange coat. Oh, you like it that you let me know when the mailman's coming and you do a really good job as a guard dog? Yes, he does. He takes his job of barking when people come to the house very seriously, and he's very good at it. So today, Tristan and I are heading off to the Corgi show in Boxborough, Mass. Not because we're participating in the show, but because we're watching and because I want to go where there's corgis because I love corgis so much. They make me happy. And Tristan and I will have a good time because it is going to be raining today. So this is Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, and Tellington Tea Touch practitioner for animals and people, and Tristan, who's a Corgi. And today, on our episode of Conversations with a Corgi, we've been talking about the flower essence from Botanical Animal called Panic Attack. And we'd like to remind you that these flower essences are available for purchase on my website. You can go there and get them when you find one that you think is helpful to you, and we will mail it out as soon as we can. So have a great day, and we will be back tomorrow, remember, at 9:25, where we'll continue talking about some more flower essences. Thanks for joining us in the garden.